There's a place that I know, it's where all the sunshine goes, the brightest spot along the highway 1, a city where you always know someone. Hey, hey, where's it at? Hey, 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 Medicine Hat.
Welcome to Helping Hatters, Annie Anderson.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. What made you say, yeah, I want to be on this video podcast?
I think it's great when people I know or meet are chasing their passions and living their dreams and they're excited about something and I can support it. I'm in.
Yes. Specifically, Misty J. Zanger right here.
Specifically you.
What lets you know that I am excited about this project?
The je ne sais quoi, that spark in your eyes, the willingness to step out of the box, to go down a path that has not yet been forged by you, one that potentially could cause all sorts of stress and nervousness and excitement, and you're doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm. And I think on the other side, the positive ripple effects that are going to come from such a simple idea of a project, right? Talking to people who live or have grown up in Medicine Hat or surrounding areas, and they are also passionate about what they're investing their time and energy into. And that's why throughout my years trying to discover optimum living quality and healthy and vibrant well-being for myself, I've stumbled across you and thought there's nobody who's quite like Annie Anderson. And anytime I go anywhere, Annie, and mention your name, which you can't just say Annie, like your name,
you always say the full name.
It has to be. It's just such a beautiful name, and I love it. Anytime I'm like, it's not Annie A is okay, but it's like Annie Anderson is just like
it's got a ring.
It does have a beautiful ring to it. So tell me how you came to be located in Medicine Hat, because you aren't born and raised here.
I'm an implant.
Yeah.
Or a transplant, I guess.
Sure.
Yep.
Tell me about that.
I came to Medicine Hat because of school 21 years ago.
So like post-secondary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I was going through a quarter century life crisis.
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to do with my life? How do I figure this stuff out? 9/11 had hit, and that knocked me like flat. Complete readjustment of my life. Figured out that I wanted to be a paramedic and came to Medicine Hat College to go to school because they were offering a program there. And back in those days, you had to have years of experience on the street as the entry-level EMT before you could go to paramedic school.
Okay.
And I didn't have that. And I didn't want to wait.
Right.
And so the Medicine Hat College had offered 1 year of their program, and I applied and got accepted into the second year of the program.
Okay.
And so I rented my house out in Calgary, and I bought a house here for the couple of years that I was only supposed to be here for, and went to school. And after I'd been here for about 6 months, I thought, why would I leave?
Yeah.
The cost of living was cheap. The gas back then was 29 cents a liter.
Oh, wow.
The weather is fantastic. It's like 15 minutes from one side of the city to the other. All my friends in Calgary were very sad because they're like, but there's no zoo and there's no symphony. And I'm like, I don't like going to the zoo. I've never been to the symphony. I can go to Olive Garden and have supper in one of those, chain restaurants when I come see you. But other than that, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. And it's not like we don't have things to do, or that you could drive the few hours up the road to get to the bigger metropolis, if you will, to enjoy those things.
And then come back here where the crime is less and it's quiet and it's beautiful. And then I met my husband.
And how'd you meet him?
We actually met online.
Ooh.
Back in the day when online dating was very scandalous,
right,
and very full of judgment.
Yes.
You must be desperate. You must be, super ugly. You must, not have any social skills. And it turns out he lived only 7 blocks from me.
Oh.
Hmm.
And was it like just destined to
It was
be
click,
love at first
click, click,
sight,
click.
kind of
Yep.
classical love story?
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So then the rest is
The
history.
rest is history.
That you just said, these are my roots now.
Yep. I sold my house in Calgary, and we got married, and sold my original house here. We moved into his house, and now we're in a different house. So I've only ever lived in 3 houses in 21 years here,
Wow. That's amazing.
and I love it.
Yeah. And so you have 2 children.
2 boys, yep,
And they are how old?
12 and 16.
Wow. Preteen and teen.
Mm-hmm.
And they are, as far as I know, pretty awesome.
They're amazing.
And
I love the fact that we're raising them here in this small city.
yeah, like less worried about
Yes.
influences or
less.
dangers to them.
I like the fact that my 12-year-old can take my bicycle, my e-bike,
Yeah.
the cheater bike, he calls it, and he can just ride around.
Yeah.
And I'm not worried about him.
Yeah, that is comforting for sure. With your post-secondary, you became an EMT?
I came here as an EMT, and then I took my paramedic
Right.
program here. And then 10 years later, I went back and finished the degree portion
Mhm.
to get the Bachelor of Health Sciences degree.
What did that do for you?
Well, initially, I thought it was going to help me in my career to advance up the EMS ladder, and I chose not to go that route. And so it gave me a very lovely piece of paper on the wall. And it has most recently given me the opportunity, though now, to apply to different master's programs, which I wouldn't have been able to do if I hadn't done my degree.
Great. So that's fantastic, because years ago, so Annie and I ended up on a bowling team together, a 5-pin bowling team together, and I remember quite vividly us having a little pub night, and you seemed a little stuck. Something was not as flary, exciting about Annie, and that's noticeable when you are so energetic. And I remember talking to you about teachers doing professional development, and as a teacher, that's like
Required.
a requirement. And I was like, why aren't you doing more of that? And then it seemed like that sparked something. I'm not saying I'm taking credit for being, but I feel like part of that moment was also acknowledging that we are lifelong learners.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to, invest in a post-secondary education to get that paper. It seems like you're paying a lot of money for that paper, but the skills and the knowledge that comes with that, and the comfort of knowing I have that as a background.
Yes.
And I am now a professional.
You're actually not wrong about that conversation.
Yeah.
Sparking
You do
things.
remember it?
I sure do.
Okay. It was a two-way street.
Yep.
What's your perspective of that moment?
It was a realization of the fact that I had become somewhat limited in my thinking. And I had forgotten that there was so many more things out there that I could focus on, that I could then be empowered to do by choice. And actually, since finishing that degree, I've also completed my end-of-life doula certificate. I did my positive psychology certificate at Wilfrid Laurier University. I did my Reiki Master Teacher. I did my bioresonance technician. I finished a second degree to get my bachelor's of holistic health sciences. I'm currently pursuing my PhD to be a doctor of natural and integrative medicine. I'm also currently in my shamanic training 3-year program. And just yesterday, I submitted my application to go get my master's of counseling psychology. So that one conversation had a significant ripple effect.
Yeah. And I'm sure I was just like that final little lighting the match, but people all along the way and experiences all along the way helped to just have that moment come together, and something, just that light bulb went off, and be like, that inspired me to get going.
And all of that has been in the last 8 years.
Yeah, it hasn't been a long time.
No.
And I don't know if I've ever met somebody who's been able to rattle off such exceptional, educational, and diverse experiences to say, if you were ever to actually create your resume, I don't know if it's been a while for you, but when you get to actually write down all of those, it makes you feel a lot of pride, I think, and feeling like, yeah, I
I actually have worked hard.
Yeah.
I have checked a few things off a list I didn't even know I was creating.
Right.
Yeah.
And that you get to share that now with others.
Yeah. What I like about it as well is that I think it's given my kids the realization that I'm not old, washed up. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That whole concept of it doesn't matter if you're 30 and you're trying to figure it out and you go back to school. It doesn't matter if you're 40 and you're trying to figure it out and go back to school. I'm 50
Right.
and I'm back in school again.
Yes.
So
100% lifelong learner,
Yeah.
growth mindset,
forward thinking, planning, you know.
big dreamer.
Yeah.
So I want to ask firstly, before we come back to what you want to do with future dreams, aspirations, educational goals, with what you currently do in your today environment, because you've left the paramedic world,
I have.
just like I have left the teaching world. But those parts that we've learned to help people have followed us.
Yes.
So even though we're not doing that career specifically anymore, we're doing different things that spark joy in us.
Yeah.
So tell me what you're doing that makes you feel lit up from the inside, and you can see that other people are getting some benefits from what you're able to share and also teach them.
Well, there's a lot of transferable skills. To go from the world of EMS and that crisis response where everything's an emergency or is perceived as a life or death emergency to someone, whether or not it actually is, it's their emergency.
Right.
And the intimate moments that are created when somebody's having the worst day of their life, and I would show up and be that quiet, calm, it's okay, I've got you,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to do this.
Yeah, such a supporter.
Has been, it was life-changing to be able to see those sides of people in those moments that nobody else was a part of.
Right.
But now taking that same ability to commit my knowledge and my willingness to meet people where they're at in the environment that I'm working now has had the same feeling in me as it did when I would, say, do CPR and get somebody back from
Right.
cardiac arrest.
Yes.
Like, that is a tremendous transfer. Because now I'm working with people to take them from a place of pain, but not from trauma necessarily. Like,
Okay.
they haven't been hit by a car and they've got a broken leg pain.
Right.
They've had a lifetime of unhealthy relationships, or people that have knowingly or unknowingly said or done things that have led them to a place of forming a belief about themselves that no longer serves them
Right.
and still affects them.
Yes.
And how do we free them from that?
Right.
And so to be able to take somebody who feels flat and no energy and no zest for life
And stuff.
and work with them and stuck,
Mm-hmm.
to have them, say 4, 5, 6 appointments, 10 appointments later, it's all varied, to have them say, you know what? I feel hope. I feel like there's wind moving through my soul.
Yeah.
And I'm not destined to go down this dark, unfulfilling life anymore. Like, I get it. I've let go of stuff. To me, is as good as a save.
Yeah. So doom is lifting. You're empowering people.
Yes.
Is truly what you are. You're
Yeah.
giving them some tools and also the ability to set themselves free
Yes.
through varying techniques and therapies.
Yes.
So tell me a few, which I'm sure you're going to list them like your educational backgrounds, what you find as some of those really empowering techniques and tools. Like, so talk about, I guess, what does Reiki do for a person? Muscle testing, all the things. And I am a client of yours, not just your friend, but I came to see you during my dark burnout time. And I thought, this person can help me.
Yep.
And I also learned in that moment that I could help myself through those
That's the
sessions.
key. That's the key. Like, for years, I did nails, gel nails.
Right.
And everybody wants the client that will come back every 2 or 3 weeks to get their nail fix.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a crack dealer.
Right.
You want somebody to come back regularly to buy from you. I don't want people to be coming back and seeing me every 3 weeks for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to fix them. I don't want to be the solution for them. I want them to know that they have the power to heal themselves. And I'm just passing them the odd tool here and there to overhaul what's getting sorted out.
Yeah, you're the bridge.
Yeah. And so the four pillars in my business is supporting, aligning, guiding, and empowering.
Okay.
And so people need to be supported in their moment of crisis, just like a first responder would.
Mhm.
People need to be aligned in their energies and where they want to go with their goals, just like they need to have their bones aligned if they get crunched in an accident.
Mhm.
They need to have guidance of, well, if you do this, you'll get this result. And if you try this, you might get this result.
Mhm.
Just like they would have in rehab. If you do this stretch or you do this massage, you can, get through some of your pain.
Right.
But they need to be empowered at the end of the day to know that if they do have a broken leg and they get the surgery to put it back in, lined up so that they're not Humpty Dumpty, and they do the exercises, when the staples come out, it is them that has made the scar, that has knitted their skin back together from the surgery. It is them that has laid down new bone cells to glue that bone back together and make it stronger than it was before.
Yeah.
But people don't give themselves credit for the healing that their body does.
I want to ask you a question about that.
Yes.
Why do you think it's so, I think it's pretty predominant that people don't realize how gifted they truly are to heal themselves?
Yep.
What is there contributing factors to that you can isolate?
That's a good question. So I would say, I think there's a lot of people that are maybe afraid of how powerful they are. There's a poem by Marianne Williamson, and it's their light, not their darkness, that they're most afraid of. And I wish I could recite the poem off the top of my head, because that would be great.
Yeah.
And it is such an amazing poem, but it talks about how people are maybe afraid of how powerful they are because it's vulnerable.
Yes.
And I have learned I am the most powerful when I'm the most vulnerable, because it gives permission to other people to try and fall down and try again and learn.
Yeah. And get back up.
Yeah.
And do it
keep
again.
going.
Yeah. And just baby steps, because you're progressing, hopefully, mostly upwards, that you're steadily climbing. And yes, do we fall down? Do we hurt ourselves?
Sure we do.
Are there hard days? You betcha. Are there hard months and years? Heck yes.
There's also people, though, that will try and tear you down as you're building yourself, because they're afraid that you're going to leave them behind, and they're scared, or more scared to try and fail than to stay stuck.
Right.
And that can be hard, because when you're growing and moving and learning, you might be actually literally outpacing the people that are in your life, because you're no longer in the same space they were.
Yes.
Not because they can't join you, not because they're not as good as you, but they choose to stay stuck.
Right.
And that can be hard. So some people would rather stay where it's comfortable and safe and familiar than risk trying and failing, or trying and succeeding, because then what does that mean?
Right. That is all scary.
Absolutely.
And people, especially, we're quite new in our evolution as human beings. And I think we're at a shifting time where it's more thriving mindset and that empowerment and feeling like you have control versus the surviving bare minimum. I have to just do this, the grind, right? And that's why one of my biggest passions right now is, because I lived through all that, is what is the burnout caused by? How do we let ourselves get there? Because that's truly what's happening, but we're so not aware of it.
Yeah.
We're just
it's insidious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking at the same time.
Yep. Well, back to your question.
Oh, yeah.
What are the things that I'm doing to help people? I'm teaching them things so they have tools, so that when I'm not there, they've got a selection of things to pick from to see, okay, if I do this, will this help the situation? If I do this, will this help? I'd like to give people several tools that they can use.
Right.
And a lot of what I do is known and common and mainstream, although some people might say Reiki is not common and it's not mainstream, but you can go anywhere in the world and find somebody who practices Reiki. But I'm also pushing the envelope and learning the quantum physics, the quantum science.
Which means what?
To be a quantum doctor, which is using things that are not traditionally Western mainstream pills or surgeries. And I'm not knocking them because they do have a place. They do save lives. I have had my life saved with that. I'm not knocking that at all. However, there are other buffet items available to people that can be used to either prevent illness or find another way to solve it so that you're dealing with the fire, not just the smoke.
Right.
And that's where quantum physics, I think, comes in, where you're thinking about things like epigenetics and you're thinking about thought processes and how does your thought affect your emotion and how does that affect your body and then how does that affect your health
and your life
ultimately.
Right.
And if you're not well, how can you make yourself well? How do you back that up so you get to the root of the problem so that when your tire blows on the car, you can trace it back to, oh, it was probably when I hit that curb really hard and I knocked my wheels out of alignment and everything looked fine as I looked at it, but days or weeks or months of driving on that car with that tire just slightly out changes the wear pattern.
Yeah.
So then you have a blowout.
Yeah. And you can't just put duct tape on that to fix it.
No.
And that's what sometimes we have like a more of a Band-Aid solution.
Let's just put a new tire on it and not change the wheel alignment.
Yes.
Sure, you've got a new tire on there, but you're still out of alignment.
So going deeper into the unseen, untouchable, and that's kind of what the metaphysical is it's beyond our comprehension at times.
It's beyond the physical.
You can't see, touch, smell, feel it.
But you can't see, touch, smell, or feel the radio waves, but yet you turn the radio on, you still hear the song. You flick the switch, you don't know how it works, but next thing you know, the lights come on in the room.
Yeah.
I don't have to learn how to fly the plane in order to be able to step into this tube and end up in Hawaii 6 hours later.
Right.
But there's all sorts of things that happen that people don't understand, but if they're shown, Reiki can do this. EFT or tapping can do this. Bioresonance can do this. What if we were to look at some of the more spiritual things, not necessarily religious with like church and Bible and those sorts of things, which are profoundly helpful for millions of people around the world, but spirituality as well. How could we introduce some rituals from cultures that have been so long forgotten that they used and it worked?
Yes.
Like shamanism.
Yeah.
Like I find it so amazing, like in my training that I've been doing, the experiences that have come from that, and it has been physically beneficial to people.
Right. Can you give me some examples of what comes in with the shaman trainings? Like what kind of practices are happening where you're like, I feel that?
Well, the training and the rituals are actually quite sacred. So how we're learning it, no.
Okay.
Nope, can't tell you that.
Fair.
But I have seen people say, you know what, I have a physical ailment. For example, maybe they've got tinnitus, they've got the ringing in the ears all the time, or they've got vertigo all the time. Using some of the shamanic practices with them through science of today can explain how it works, just because we've evolved with education.
Right.
That person has a session and they walked away with no more vertigo. Can I guarantee that? No, of course not.
Yeah.
There's lots of factors that have to be in place. And even a doctor can't guarantee something that they're going to do is going to fix somebody.
Right.
But I've seen things with these energetic healing opportunities. How does it get explained other than it just works?
Yeah.
And it's through quantum physics and science that is explaining that now, whereas there were no quantum physicists hundreds and hundreds of years ago. There were just people that knew that if they did this, they would have this result.
Right.
And a lot of those teachings have been lost because the convenience of modern medicine has changed a lot of that.
Right. But do you not feel like we're in like a revival state of that?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
That's, I
People
don't
are
feel
craving it.
Yeah.
They are craving ways to help themselves and their family and their friends and their peeps and all of that is empowering to them, because they don't want to be reliant on having to take another pill.
Right.
If they can solve the problem, let's solve the problem.
And not just cover up the symptoms
Right.
of whatever it is, because
Let's
nobody
heal
can
it.
like go inside you and pinpoint,
Yeah.
oh, that's from a childhood moment that
Yeah.
you can't even actually consciously remember.
Yeah. But what if your body that can remember these things is empowered to say, okay, I understand you remember them. I know you've got that information in there. I don't have to trace it down to the very exact moment it happened, because we just both know it happened. How can we let it go?
Right.
Why do we have to hold on to that anymore?
And is it sometimes just simply asking those questions
Yeah.
and like,
And having a conversation with the body.
yeah, that's cool.
It is.
And the power of just asking the questions.
And acknowledging.
Yes. And being just, there's some power in the connection with another soul.
Yes.
And when that soul is guiding you through and it's safe, it's comfortable.
Yep.
And that's what you do.
Yep.
You are somebody who draws other people towards you. Do you notice that?
I would say yes. I don't want to think too much about it, just because it would be easy to get very caught up in the ego of things
Right.
like that. I just know that I love life, and I love surrounding myself with other people that are just as excited about wanting to win in their life and genuinely wanting to support me to win in my life.
Yeah. The helpers.
Well, it's like if you have one Clydesdale pulling a wagon, you can pull 4 tons of freight.
Right.
So conceivably, you have 2 Clydesdales pulling together, you would pull 8 tons of freight. But the synergistic effect of those 2 animals working together in concert for the same common goal, you actually pull 16 tons of weight.
Yeah. It's a multiplying factor,
is.
not an adding.
Yes.
I love that. And the ripple effect, because you not only are helping one person who comes to see you, that ripple effect into, like you said, their family, their
Yeah.
friends, their work,
Yeah.
how they come and present and showcase themselves to the world.
Yeah. Like if the client is mom and mom goes home at the end of the day feeling better about mom, she's going to maybe interact differently with her kids, interact differently with her husband, interact differently with the neighbor who's been, really irritating for her.
Right.
There's not going to be that scratchy conversation between them. And that will have a direct result.
Right. And not even just how we talk to people.
Yeah.
How we just are
Show up.
energetic field. And like I walked into an establishment yesterday and she's like, I just love when you come in, you're always smiling. And I'm like, that's like, to me, I'm like, that was validating to me to be like, I've arrived to a better place where people can actually now really see it in me. And they look at me and they're like, that you look like you are feeling good. And that's how I want to feel on the inside.
It's
and
like that je ne
feeding
sais
each
quoi,
other.
that
Yes,
spark.
that little something that you're
Yep.
like, yeah, I am smiling a lot.
Yeah.
And I've definitely noticed a difference. I don't think I've ever had so much feeling of both safety and security, but also comfort in knowing that I'm on my own right path, that I am paving myself, and that I get to take all the lessons I've learned throughout the past 40 years and put that towards now what I choose to do and how I'm showing up for others, even if it's the cashier at a local cafe.
Yep.
And they're noticing that, and that sparks a conversation, and also them just feeling really good about seeing this person walk in their door.
Well, I think it's because you're coming to a place in your life where you are power filled. Not powerful in the sense that you have the ability to lord it over somebody else or squash somebody.
Yes.
But when you are power filled, you're strong, you're
Love that.
grounded, you're secure.
I was wondering what the opposite of powerful was, and like holding power over someone. So I'm so glad. Like I literally just was on a walk like yesterday thinking, Well, if there's all these dichotomies of masculine and feminine, and in some people's minds, right and wrong, what is the opposite of powerful? And I love that it's power filled.
Well, if you were to picture a glass of water, okay, and I was to take drops of ink, and I would have put drops of ink into the water, the whole water glass would be contaminated.
Yep.
How do you clear that out? You can't just like scoop out the ink,
Right.
because it's completely blended with all of the water.
Mm-hmm.
And if the water is the pure healthy state and the ink is the poison, how do you get the poison out?
Yeah.
You add more of the healthy.
Mm.
You fill more water into that glass, and it pushes the ink or the poison or whatever it is the toxic thing is in your life
Right.
out by adding more of the good,
Right.
adding more of the power, filling the glass.
Yeah.
Eventually, the glass will clean itself and you will be left with a clean, pure, healthy state again
Mm-hmm.
by adding
Yes.
personal power to yourself.
Yes. Which are those self-empowering tools that you learn from so many people.
Yes.
And I think that's also an important point for people to know is it's not just Annie Anderson who's going to help heal them.
Oh, no.
And it's not just them who can do it for themselves.
Yep.
And replacing old, outdated, probably now unhealthy habits with and mentality and state of
Yes.
mind with new stuff. And sometimes we're just what the saying, we don't know what we don't know, and we become blind to it, even though we're living in the trenches of doom and not feeling good about it, and we know we don't feel good about it. We're so stressed, and you know, we're not interacting with people positively, and we're quick to just get a little bit heated and just emotionally triggered in ways that you just don't feel regulated.
But I've learned recently in the last, well, I say in the last year, one of the best things that somebody can do for themselves is a 1% change. What could you do that would be 1% different than what you're doing now?
Yeah.
And then do that.
Yeah.
And then the next day, if that's all you can do, just do that. And you're still 1% better than you were before. Because if you look at an airline pilot, maybe my numbers are wrong, but I seem to recall somebody telling me once that 1 degree difference in their trajectory changes their end result by 60 nautical miles by changing their trajectory 1 degree. So then 1 degree, and then 1 degree, and then 1 degree. And the next thing you know, you are thousands of miles from where you would have been if you'd stayed on the course that you were headed to, which was a doomsday course. You just make one small shift, one small shift. Next thing you know, you have a completely different life.
The movie What About Bob, which is an older one.
I
probably told you about it because one of my favorite sayings these last few years has been baby steps, which comes about. It's a psychologist talking to a client who has all sorts of limiting beliefs, can't leave the house successfully, and just anxiety riddled human being. And so his biggest thing is baby steps. And that's at 1%. So change one thing. And if that means not doing this one thing and then replacing it with that, because I've noticed that you can't just cut things out. There's a reason you've held on to that something. So what can you change it for? And baby step your way to a better you. And then once you have that kind of on automatic, it's become ingrained in you, change another thing. But doing it all at once and thinking that it could happen like that in an instant.
That's not realistic.
It's not realistic. No. And I think that's one of the valuable lessons I've learned through my journey this past year has truly been time. Need lots of it, way more than you ever think. So if you think it's going to take 3 months to heal, you might as well say a year.
Give it a year.
And then the ability to say, I can't control that either. I can't control the time. I can control me and what I'm committing to every day to do my best. And I'd also like to point out that you can stumble and fall and have your hiccups. And that's okay. Because I think a lot of what I felt during my tumultuous times was shame and guilt for being a human and for being so overwhelmed that I couldn't rationally do what I knew I should do. And it turned into this whole unconscious kind of behaviors that I was like, why am I acting like this?
Yeah.
So people like you and other awesome human beings, not just around Medicine Hat, but around
There's a
the
group
world.
of us around the world.
Yeah, and all sorts of different modalities and backgrounds and life experiences.
Skills and gifts.
All of it.
Yeah.
And if you want to seek it out, you can find it.
Yes.
You
100%.
agree to that.
100%.
So if people wanted to seek out Annie Anderson, how would they do that?
Well, the good old www.theenergymedicineclinic.com.
Website?
Yep, that'd be the best place to start.
For sure.
Or if you're old school Facebook, you could type in the Energy Medicine Clinic on Facebook.
Yeah. Some social media. The internet is a great place. And you do have an actual office.
I do, yes. I operate out of the Synergy Center in Medicine Hat. PSY.
Yes, it is spelt a little funky, and it's easiest to find because it's right next to our public library.
Yes.
So that's fantastic. It's nice to have a space outside of your home where it's neutral territory somewhat. Yes. We're by the river. When we did some of our sessions, we used the river.
Yep.
And it's a flow of energy. And
it's very symbolic.
It is. And I think it's truly, there is energies tied to water,
There's a
right?
lot of, the elements, like whether it's energy, wind, fire, earth,
all of that.
Everything has energy.
Yes.
It all just vibrates at different frequencies and different speeds, but it's all connected.
Love that. Is there any other final thoughts or questions you might have of me?
Well, my one final thought is, one of the biggest things I want people to realize is they have it in them.
Mm-hmm.
They have the healing ability in them. It's not somebody else that's doing it for them or to them. It is them that is doing the work.
But they need to be able to step out of themselves and say, I can get help.
Yeah, and I deserve this.
Yes.
And I'm allowed, and I should.
Yeah,
and
the worthiness and the empowerment.
For all the things of the universe.
Because if there is bazillions of things out there, and we only have so much tools given to us through natural born
gifts,
yep. And then tapping into that, and also the conditioning that happens to make us forget about that. Yes. So there's a lot of work to do.
And build a team. Build a team around you of people that love you and support you and want you to win, and they're winning in their lives.
100%. So lessening the amount of toxicity in your life.
Yeah. Quality versus quantity.
You need to be able to acknowledge and pinpoint what those pain points are.
Yeah.
Which can be hard.
Yep.
Because sometimes it's family.
Yep.
And you feel innately that family should be your biggest supporter.
But sometimes it's the family that you choose.
Yes.
To be part of your family.
Yeah. That you grow into, and that becomes your new community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I appreciate that.
My question to you is, what is the juice in this for you?
The juice.
The juice in doing this. Like, this is a big project you're undertaking and bringing all sorts of people in together.
Yeah.
What is the passion for you in doing this?
I wanted to go beyond the basic medical, see a doctor. My doctor has their own medical issues. So I can't always get in to see them. Yep. They're fantastic, and I love having that. But again, just having that as the sole source of help would not have served me had I not leaned into all the other people that are in our community, and that I sought out opportunities because I love learning too, just like you.
Yep.
And mine's a lot more informal learnings because I pick up anything everywhere, and I want to take like nuggets of Annie with me in my pocket and say, I have that, to whether I can help somebody with something little and pass along one of those tools like muscle testing, or I can then refer to people, hey, you might benefit from seeing Annie.
Yep.
But when this project, I just saw a social media post and I was like, oh, it needs to be on local content. What could I do? And again, this was really early into my burnout acknowledgement and recovery phase,
Yep.
where I leaned into so many helpers that I was like, it seems obvious to me that I should showcase the varying versions of helpers in the community that you wouldn't think that are right in front of you, but you might not know they exist.
Because how do you know what you don't know? Because you don't know it.
So I want to showcase, and I love the variety of people that I have slotted for this, and some that aren't even slotted yet that I've just met recently that I'm like, I think you should come on this and just showcase what you know, how you know it, and how you want to share it to help others while empowering yourself at the same time. Because it's important to acknowledge, I think, that we're always having to do that work, ground ourselves, recalibrate, and get back centered and
fill your cup,
not end up pulled into the chaos that can be outside life and expectations of society or others upon us. So does that answer your question?
Yes.
And I love that you said yes again to coming on Helping Hatters, and that you let me come into your space. It looks great. Unfortunately, you can't keep the lovely
that is too bad.
canvas.
It's a beautiful photo.
Look good. It does look great.
It does.
And I hope others get inspired by what we've had as a conversation today and can find the nuggets that will bring them some inner gold and that light and the feelings of joy that can get sparked by starting to empower ourselves.
Even if it's only with 1%.
1% baby steps. Repeated. And
wash, rinse, repeat.
You will be successful because you're the only roadblock at times. It's nobody else. Like we have so much more power to be the change in our life, and that Mahatma Gandhi had that. And I remember as a teacher having that poster on my wall, and it was one of my favorite quotes: "Be the change you want to see in the world." And I didn't know how powerful that saying was until I'm getting into my power of outside of a structured environment like a public education classroom. So I'm excited because I'm at the beginnings of this journey. And I'm still in the scary times where I don't feel the full confidence, but I know more and more every day that I'm doing what feels good for me, as much as it might scare me. It's exciting because I lead these experiences and I feel power-filled. It's a great way to end our conversation today. Thank you, Annie Anderson.
Thank you very much.
So Annie wants to show us a little bit of a quick technique that we can do to check with our own selves to find some answers.
Yeah, it's a way of communicating with your body to find out what your body truly believes in, agrees with, or disagrees with, that is done without words.
And we call it?
Muscle testing.
Muscle testing. And where did you learn about muscle testing?
I learned it through my Reiki training classes.
Oh, okay.
But you can learn about it all sorts of different ways. There's all sorts of different types of muscle testing. It's also used in something called the emotion code or body code by Dr. Bradley Nelson. And it's, again, just a way of communicating with your subconscious and your body in a way that can be private.
Right.
And actually quite revealing.
And it can be used, you told me an example of picking the right strawberries for you at the supermarket to like bigger decisions and feeling confident, like, and in the chaos of our minds and overthinking of being like, oh, let's just check with the body.
Yes.
What is it telling me?
Yes.
And listening.
Is it my impulse that wants this, or is it actually truly for my best and highest good?
Right. So tell me the basics.
So the basic steps are, if at all possible, find north. Because your body is magnetic. The earth is magnetic. And like a compass, it faces and is directing towards north.
Right.
So if at all possible, find north. And if you can't, intend that is north.
Right.
Because intention is powerful. So if I believe that this is north, and maybe I'm a little bit off, but that's okay. The intention is there. Put your hands over your heart space. Take a breath, and breathing that breath into your heart space, and bringing to mind something that brings you absolute joy and gratitude. Joy and gratitude, along with the frequency of love, raises your vibration. It creates coherence in your body. So as you have that thought of something or someone or an event that brings you joy and gratitude, you change your vibration, you raise it up, and then let it go. Now, what's important is to know whether or not you're calibrated correctly. And why might not you be calibrated? Well, perhaps you're dehydrated.
Right.
It could be that simple, because we are electrical beings, right?
And in this heat, we just might be.
We just might be. So if at all possible, have some water before you do this.
Yeah.
So you will want to check with something that is absolutely true, so that when you calibrate and you get the answer, you'll know whether or not you're in alignment.
When I've read about it, it's your name. Test it on your name.
Sure. Yeah.
Is one. What's your favorite?
What color are your eyes?
Oh.
Now,
Also,
if you have eyes that change color, maybe it's a little tougher, but right now we also know my hair is brown.
Yeah.
Or I'm in medicine hat right now. That is absolutely true.
Right.
So if I'm standing here and something is true or positive, or I'm drawn to it, your body will naturally move forward. And if something is repulsive to you, or you naturally will step back from someone or something if it doesn't align with you.
Or in this case, lean.
True. In this case, lean back. Now, when you're first starting, it might be a very gentle sway. And once you are practiced at it, it can be very strong.
Yeah.
However, you'll also get that feeling very quickly, and you'll just know very quickly.
Right.
So in this case, right now, I'm in medicine hat, and I lean forward.
Yeah.
That is truth.
Yeah.
Okay. Or I have a pot-bellied pig as a pet.
Right.
No, I do not. I never will.
Yeah.
So we know right off the bat I'm calibrated.
Yeah.
Okay. How about yours?
Oh, I was doing medicine hat in Calgary, and I was feeling this way.
You're good. So now the question is, how are you going to use this? Well, for example, I used it last year when I was trying to decide about going for a trip. I really wanted to go to Sedona.
Right.
And I turned 50, and it was like, this is my birthday trip. And I said to myself, okay, it's a good idea for me to go on a trip to Sedona. And I got a no.
Oh.
So then what do you do?
Right.
If something absolutely doesn't make sense to you, it might mean that you need more information.
Right.
It might not be, no, I should never go to Sedona, because that really doesn't line up with what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And truly feeling in your gut, like,
right.
Yeah,
Yes.
I should go there.
So the question was, okay, I need more information. I should go to Sedona in May. No. June. No. July. No. August. No. September. Yep. Okay. October. No. November. No. December. No. Okay. So now I know it is in my highest and best good to go to Sedona in September. So I'm like, okay, that's when I'll go. My birthday is not till December.
Yeah.
But September is when it came true for me to be able to say that I should go. And interestingly, 3 days later, a girlfriend of mine phoned me up and said, I have found this retreat that we should go to. It's this warrior goddess. It's, we should go, and it's in Sedona, and it's in September.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, okay, that's when I was supposed to go, because I needed to go to this conference.
Because you could have actually overrode your muscle test and booked a trip
in November or December.
And also miss that opportunity.
Correct.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
So like you say, how am I going to use this in real life? Well, I decide I'm going to go to the grocery store. Does my body need vegetables right now? No. Does my body need fruit? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I get these California strawberries or these Mexico strawberries? Well, do these you can pick up a clamshell and put the clamshell next to you and say, these strawberries are for my highest and best good? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't mean they're not good for somebody else.
Yeah.
These Mexican strawberries? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. This particular clamshell? No. Oh, maybe this clamshell? Yes.
Right.
So why would one clamshell over the other clamshell be any better or worse if it's from the company that's making them? Well, maybe that one particular clamshell of strawberries was growing next to some pesticides that were blowing in the air. Or maybe the people picking them were having a really bad day that day, and their energy transferred into the fruit.
So I think it's important to note that these are yes, no, true, false
Correct.
answers. Therefore, your questions need to be worded, stated in that way that the answer
Yeah.
is a yes or no, true
Correct.
or false, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Any other pointers if somebody's going to do this for themselves at home?
You can use it for lots of things. And I'm never going to tell you to decide whether or not you keep taking your heart medication.
Right.
No,
No.
because that's foolish.
Yeah.
And we're not here to give those sorts of pieces of advice,
Yeah.
because there could be significant consequences.
Yeah.
And maybe it means that you should, but you need to do something else first. And if you're not asking the right question and you're doing this sort of thing, you could get into some trouble.
Yes.
But so for everyday things though, is my body needing to exercise today? Yes.
Oh yeah.
Do I go in the morning? No. Do I go
Yeah.
in the afternoon? Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know why? No, you don't know why, but maybe
Right.
it's a temperature thing. Maybe it's a hydration thing. Maybe it's your body is going to understand that there maybe is going to be a threat at some point in the day that you're not aware of. Who knows?
Right.
You're learning to trust your body.
Yes. I think it's also something I learned, that you aren't asking it if these are the winning lottery tickets
Correct.
tonight. It cannot be, what's the
For
wording?
selfish gain.
Yeah, for selfish gain. So not doing it for the ego side of you, doing
Correct.
it for the true helpful of your mind, body, and
Yes.
soul
Yes.
in basic how you do you.
Yeah.
Not
Or-
how you profit in this
Correct.
world.
I really need to have a difficult conversation with somebody. Is today the best day or is tomorrow the best day? Well, you couldn't ask that question like that because it's
Right.
not a yes or no.
Yeah.
Is today the best day to have a difficult conversation with Bob? No.
Mm.
Is tomorrow the best day? Yes.
Yeah. And so a lot of questions to narrow things
Things down to the path.
Yeah.
Yes. And the
Brilliant.
more you do it, the faster your responses will come, and the more in tune you will be with your inner knowledge, your inner wisdom.
Yeah. I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
You're
for
very
sharing.
welcome. Boom.
There's a place that I know, it's where all the sunshine goes, the brightest spot along the highway one, a city where you always know someone. Hey, hey, where's it at? Hey, 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 Medicine Hat. Sitting on the treaty 7 and 4, a sunny spot with an open door, a running river with a few coolies, and the 88 Olympic teepee. Hey, hey, would you look at that? Hey, 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 Medicine Hat. Oh, its roots run deep, the stomping ground of community, a sunny city where you always matter. We call it Hatters Helping Hatters, Medicine Hat. Hop in a hot air balloon, rise up, you'll enjoy the view. Don't forget my Delta pottery, those bricks have history. Hey, hey, welcome back. Hey, 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 Medicine Hat. Oh, its roots run deep, the stomping ground of community, sunny city where you always matter. We call it Hatters Helping Hatters, Medicine Hat.
Helping Hatters was created, hosted, and produced by Misty Zanger and is a Mystified Productions podcast.